What? All right, bro. All right, I'll bring you back up, bro. I'll bring you back up, James. But we gotta be able to hear you. Miss your lives. Welcome back. This Snapchat business is a non-issue. I didn't say that. I did not say it. Hold on, James. Hold on. Give me a second. This is Pac. I'm reading a donation. I did not say that. That's not my opinion. That is not my opinion. But Pac, I really appreciate the kind words. I disagree with some of your views, but where would we be without dissenting opinions? I believe this person might be Maga. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so. Yo, Pac, $25 is like insanely kind. Seriously, can I get some W's for Pac in the chat? Seriously, I appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot. W's in the chat. Jordan, thank you so much for $5. Holy shit. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for fighting. By the way, check your DMs and accounts pretending to be you. I sent them to you. Yo, Jordan, I appreciate that so much. These fake accounts are crazy. Thank you for letting me know. I will check that out. And thanks for like DMing, just taking the time to like DM that and like let me know. It means a lot, seriously. So thank you so much for $5. That's crazy. You guys are so kind. W's in the chat, seriously. Never stuff I take for granted, ever. Okay, James, hello.
What's up, dude?
All right.
So I get why you do it because you don't want your live taken down, but you can ask the question rather than just kicking me. Secondly, like my second question to that was, if it's okay for you to call me a fascist, but I can't call you anything.
Wait, whoa.
Why is that? What both sides? Okay. For example,
I didn't call you a fascist.
Chuck Schumer. I'm not saying you did. But Chuck Schumer, and you just called the last guy like you were like, hey, these fascists, we're going to become fascists.
I mean,
like,
for the
you can't turn around and say that,
James.
And then Chuck Schumer say, hey, he wants someone to apologize and be censored on the House floor,
James,
because they called him something.
James, the last guest, and Donald Trump for the record, the last guest was talking about Donald Trump running for a third term, and when we were talking about ignoring federal judges, it was like, that's okay. That's what? Like, at what point? Like, at what point can we be staring authoritarianism, fascism, the threat? Like, our democracy is literally falling apart as we speak, and you still be bitching and moaning about the term fascism. We are here. Like, this is it.
No. Okay, hold on.
James, how do you feel? Hold on. Let me ask you this: is it ever acceptable for the president of the United States to be ignoring federal judges?
I've got to get to that point. Let me just make a comment on what you're saying. I promise you I will.
Okay.
I promise. Okay.
Okay.
Going back and forth. What I'm annoyed about is you guys say, oh, you can't call us that, but we can call you whatever we want. You know, but we can call you whatever we want. You know, Schmittlers and all that stuff. That's wrong. First off. Okay. Second off, I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court make a ruling on him, well, not so much him ignoring the federal judge, but him on that case. Did not Supreme Court make a different ruling?
Yeah, they made a ruling.
Okay.
Hold on, James. They made a ruling that Donald Trump could use the Alien Enemies Act to deport people. That is completely different than several times he's ignored federal judges. I don't care about SCOTUS. I'm talking about, is it ever acceptable for the executive branch, the president, to ignore judges in the judicial branch? Is that ever?
Yes, if it's not constitutional. Just like if
the
president.
Pause.
Wait.
No. Stop.
Let me answer it.
Okay,
Let me answer it.
Go ahead.
Just like if the military gets a direct order from the president of the United States and it's unconstitutional, they don't have to follow it.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay. So Donald Trump, for example, let's go through two examples of him ignoring federal judges. They deported a man on accident to El Salvador. He didn't have due process. He didn't get to see a judge. He was picked up off the street, arrested, and put on a fucking plane. They have ordered the Trump administration to bring him back, and they still are ignoring it. Is that acceptable?
Okay, wait. I'm not sure which one you're talking about because there's like 4 or 5 of them. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Like, which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
Is he a illegal alien, or is
the Trump administration admitted to accidentally deporting a man to El Salvador who was from Maryland, and he didn't.
Yeah, but is he an American citizen?
I don't know. He's like on a visa or something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Yes, it does matter.
James.
Come on.
Let me ask you a question.
You know it, and I know it. Listen.
No. I don't.
Go ahead.
What I know is that I actually fucking believe in something, and it seems like you do not. Let me ask you a question. If there is someone like let's create a fictional character, Bob. Okay, Bob goes out in America. He's an American citizen, and we all watch him commit the most heinous atrocity we've ever seen. Okay, Do you think that the United States government should be able to arrest him and without seeing a judge, without getting a phone call, without doing anything, should be able to just deport him? Just
Okay,
send him away.
I have two answers to that, and
No. It's just a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question.
Yes. Because that's what we do. That's what we do with American citizens, sending them to jail for no reason.
Okay.
They have
James.
They have no constitutional rights here in America. Anyways,
James,
you can be arrested.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
That is absurd.
Come on, dude.
That is fucking. First of all, that's absurd. Second of all, the last comment you just made, also absurd, right? I would be very supportive if we caught Bin Laden, of putting Bin Laden on a plane and bringing him back here, and before anything is done, he gets his day in court. We are a country of fucking laws, James, and you don't get to just fucking pick and choose when you feel, because you feel like someone did something bad. The argument can never be, I think it's so disingenuous if the argument is, well, is he a U.S. citizen? Did he commit violent crimes? I don't care if he's the worst person on earth. Can he get some fucking due process? James, would you be up? Let me ask you, does it not scare you, the idea that the U.S. government can fucking pick somebody up off the street and just send them away without seeing a judge? Because
they do that every single day, even in Biden's term.
When were they doing that under Biden's term? When?
If you would let me explain, I'll explain it to you. So here in Colorado, all it takes is a victim, or so-called a victim, to say, hey, this person did this to me. They pick them up, put them in jail, and their life is ruined for 6 months to a year.
So James,
and they have to sit in jail because they don't have. Let me finish.
Who sends them? Let me finish. Who sends them to jail, James? A judge. A judge.
Have no other side of the story. The cop did not. Wait, let me finish.
No. Because what you're talking about right now is a judge sending people to jail. I'm talking about people not being able to see a judge. No judge, no phone call.
He didn't get to see the judge.
Who are you talking about?
Okay, let me explain my side, and then I'll let you talk. So when someone says,
we're so cooked.
No, how are we cooked? Listen, so
because
if someone
says people like you are so privileged and ignorant to the idea of democracy, you're gonna ruin it for the rest of us.
Okay, let me explain my side, and then you can disingenuous it or whatever you want. So my son was unalived 8 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That lady served 5 days in jail and 2 years probation. She got a ticket in the mail to report to court. 7 different felonies while I was suing the police department and the sheriff's department because her husband was a police officer in the very police department where she had it. I was picked up and taken to jail for 7 to 10 days, sitting there for crimes I didn't commit. They didn't come and get my story. They just took me to jail. I had to go see a judge, get a bond, and everything else. Okay. So it happens every day.
Okay, but what
if one person, if it doesn't just happen to one person, James, it happens to several people.
Wait, James. First of all, I'm sorry that happened. Truly, I am.
I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to be a douche to you.
No, I know. But what you're describing is due process. Even in that. No. Even in the wrongdoings of that process, you still got it situated because you saw a judge. But here's the problem, James. What happens if you're arrested and put somewhere and you can't make a phone call and you can't see a judge?
That happens for at least 3 days.
Okay, but I'm talking about indefinitely, right? Because I'm sorry that the judicial system makes. Hold on, James. The judicial system makes mistakes, but the idea is that because we have because you went to a different country, or you are picked up and you can't see a judge, and you were just in a cell, and you're not allowed to make a phone call or see a judge, that's a fucking war crime, dude.
Okay, now hold on. Now I have the second answer to this. This is why I had 2 answers to this. I have a best friend that wasn't illegal when Biden was getting elected, and he had told me this and confided in me and everything because he didn't want to tell anybody. He was afraid of getting deported, right? And he was a really good friend. And I helped him get his visa. Then now he has his citizenship. It's taken him all 4 years to get it. And he was actually able to vote. And he even says, if you come to this country illegally, you should be kicked out. Okay. He said he made mistakes. It has nothing to do with the person. I would love for people to come to this country.
So James,
but just come about it legally. And the legal way sucks. We need to change that and make it better. Nobody's disagreeing with that. What we're disagreeing with is people flooding into our country that we don't know. And all we're asking is, hey, if you leave, we won't bother you.
Okay, but James, I here's the thing. If we have a problem with people coming to the country in any type of way, that's fine. It needs to be worked out in the judicial system. What I don't support.
So you're telling me we're going to have over 10 million cases? Over 10 million cases? Takes years upon years upon years, and there will be no evidence.
Well, we had like
if you came here illegally, leave.
Okay. All right. Well, that still doesn't. Okay. Well, regardless of the problems there with our judicial system that are going to continue. Problem here that Donald Trump is like ignoring federal judges. What about him like pausing? He froze federal spending. And a federal judge ruled it was unconstitutional, but that was almost a month ago. And that same federal judge has now come out and said Donald Trump is ignoring the plain text of my order. These funds are still frozen, and they are still frozen right now.
Okay, I have something to say to that. So in each of these cases, you have to do case by case, and with that particular judge or any judge, I should think it should go to, just like the Supreme Court has ruled, should go to the judge the area it affects. For example, if you have an entire judicial system that is pressed on any judge across the nation can make a ruling and affect federal law, that's kind of messed up. It should be what affects in that area. Secondly to that, I think it's unjust because he's the holder, or he gives out the money. Hold on. So you have.
I kind of didn't hear the last 45 seconds, to be honest.
Okay, you're fine. So, okay, here you go. So the executive branch gives out the money, right?
Sure. They give out the money. What does that mean?
They give out the money.
No, yeah.
But
so Congress
they passes the money.
Sure. We'll go with that.
No. Is it wrong or right?
Well, the executive branch enforces the law. Right? Congress. Oops. So the executive branch is in charge of enforcing the law. And Congress is going to pass a spending bill, pass spending, and then they're going to appropriate that money. They're going to say, this money, line by line, this money goes to this. It is then the executive branch job to take that money and appropriate it, apply the law, enforce the law in this case, to whatever needs to be done. For example, during the Biden administration, he was actually forced to build like 50 plus miles of Trump's border wall. Why? Because that money was appropriated by Congress under the Trump administration. It was then the executive branch, right? And Biden's own administration essentially threatened to sue him because it was the law, right? That was back when we had like a federal government that wasn't, ruled by one man.
So you should have the same energy you have with Trump that you did, or you should have the same energy you had with Biden that you have with Trump. Biden was making mistakes and contradicting himself. Wait. And he was not saying there, and people have come out. His own administration has come out and said it. James, what's your comment to that?
Said what?
Has said that he was not all there.
Okay, James, before I go there, we're talking about a president making mistakes versus the objective worst president of all time for a variety of reasons. But a man who
you can't call him the worst president of all time.
I literally just did, and it's.
I mean that's your opinion, but it's not true.
Really?
Yeah.
I think most historical. First of all, I'm going to appeal to authority just because I can. I think most scholars, both in history and politics, would agree with that.
We're not even through like the first couple weeks or first.
Yeah,
couple
but
months of his second term. Come on.
He had a first term, James, and what did he do? Right? He tried to overthrow an election he didn't win with evidence he didn't win it. That alone qualifies him as one of the worst presidents to ever exist.
How many times did you guys try to impeach Trump on his first term?
Okay, so again, you just don't engage on anything I fucking say.
No, I mean, I'm agreeing with it, but I'm going to move on.
James, to the second point, you get this is where I just don't think we can have a substantial conversation because I just don't believe that you understand where we're at. Like you comparing, I want you to have the same energy for Biden to Trump because he did bad. No. We're in such a different we're in such a different place. You could think Joe Biden is a bad president. That doesn't even come close to the idea that Donald Trump isn't bad. He isn't making mistakes. He's literally ripping apart the foundation of like our checks and balances. He's hyper politicizing the government. He's flooding in loyalists to places like the DOJ. That like he's expanding executive authority and operating in a way, making the federal government operate in a way that we have not seen in a century. So, like,
okay, so
it's not comparable.
No, it is comparable.
It's not.
My question to that is now people are coming out and saying he was not cognitive. Biden, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is that not the biggest constitutional problem we're going to have?
What?
Is people were hiding that from the American people, and Biden wasn't really running the country.
Okay, I think Biden was running the country, and I think he was cognizant.
But people have come out. His own administration has come out and said he was not all there.
I met Joe Biden.
He had bad days.
I talked to Joe Biden in the Oval Office in December.
So you talked to him in December.
Or
how
after,
do you know
after
he
Kamala
wasn't?
Harris lost.
How do you know he wasn't hopped up on something? And I'm not putting anything bad to it, but come on, man. His own administration came out and said he had cognitive problems, and you have to admit that. So that is a problem.
No,
now.
I'm not admitting. I don't even know what you're referring to. But how does this relate to our fucking conversation about Trump ripping apart?
Because you're saying
Trump.
How is he ripping apart the checks and balances? Because
he's
ignoring disobeying an order from a federal judge he believes is wrong?
Yes.
And then he's going to appeal it to the Supreme Court?
No.
Just
no.
like
James,
if his troops...
James, we're gonna play yes or no here because you're really fucking annoying me. You said because Donald Trump is ignoring an order he disagrees with. So we have in this country, right? You sign an executive order, for example, and then a judge puts a pause on it. Says it's not constitutional. We have the executive branch can disagree, the president can disagree. They're supposed to pause whatever they're doing and go through an appeal process, right? Let the judicial system work it out. That's not what's happening here, right? Donald Trump is just ignoring an order he disagrees with. I want you to answer this question, yes or no. Do you ever believe it to be acceptable for the president to sign an executive order? A judge says this is unconstitutional, and he ignores the judge because he just doesn't agree with it. Is that ever acceptable? Yes or no?
No, because it's not. Let me answer it. Okay. I'm going to answer it to what you want. No, because he's saying it's not just because he doesn't want to. That's has no reason or bearing of what I'm trying to argue here. And he might be doing that. My bearing to it is he believes it's unconstitutional and it takes 4 years to get to the appeal process to the Supreme Court where an actual ruling. So if that ruling was to get reversed, right? And say, hey, you weren't allowed to do that and you knew that, should that judge be removed from the bench?
No, James, what? I'm not playing hypotheticals. I'm asking you what's happening right now in America. Donald Trump is ignoring federal judges.
That's not a hypothetical. That was a legit question.
Yeah, I know. You're asking about fucking removing judges from a bench. That's all I'm talking about. Is it a yes or no? So you're saying it's not acceptable for Donald Trump to be ignoring federal judges?
If it's just because he doesn't want to, yes.
That's what he's doing.
No, he's doing it because he believes that he's right.
Okay, so pause right there, James. Pause right there. So again, the idea of like checks and balances. So do you believe that if the American people, let's say in 2028, the American people overwhelmingly elect Bob, and Bob believes that, and Bob signs an executive order saying that, I don't know, all of us have to, fucking do something like insane. All of us have to like march in his big parade every single day because Bob's like a dictator and a horrible person. Like, do you think it'd be okay for Bob to sign that executive order?
We have freedom of travel. You can't. It goes against a current constitutional law.
James, pause. James, stop. So if a judge rules that to be unconstitutional, what you're saying is because we elected Bob, and Bob believes that it's unconstitutional for the judge to do what he's doing, he could just ignore the judge, and he could just enforce
on
the
the
law.
American citizens. Yes.
So James,
correct.
So this is like a really, 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 really dangerous precedent. What you're stop. What you're suggesting now, for the first time again in American history, for the first time in American history. Last time we saw this was actually Jackson was the last time we saw this, the Trail of Tears. What you're suggesting is that if a president feels like it's unconstitutional for a judge to be telling him not to do X, Y, or Z, then they should be able to ignore the judicial branch. When the executive branch starts ignoring the judicial branch, that's the definition of constitutional crisis, right? Our entire way of life starts to fall apart. You're leading us, people like me, straight into fascism. And when it's all crumbling, when it's all truly crumbling, and like you lose your house, your mortgage, and all these things, I'm gonna be sitting here with a fucking cigar, and I'm gonna be like, I fucking told you. Because it's really infuriating to, like, as such a young guy, to what, like, you're actively describing authoritarianism and fascism to a T, and you just don't even fucking realize it. And it's infuriating.
All right, so you went on a tangent there, and just let me respond to it, okay? The difference you're talking about is he's controlling money that is coming from the federal government back to whatever they're going to go, right? He's controlling the executive branch. He's not controlling people. It's just like if a judge was to rule and say, hey, you can't be around all horses, right? As a, because you have a horse and animal abuse case, right? And the protection orders on all horses.
The money does affect us.
Wait, let me finish.
Wait, but the money does affect us, James. It
affects us, but it's not on the single person. Let me answer.
But James, it's a bunch of money James, it's a bunch of money that's supposed to be being sent to the American people and businesses.
It's not being sent to the American people. Most of that money's being sent to other places. Come on. And the money that's being sent to the people in the U.S. is not getting to the right areas that I don't agree with anyways. But let me answer my question. So, if you have a judge that says you can't be around all horses, and that person goes around horses, but it's unconstitutional for that judge to rule on that and say they can't be around all horses nationwide, is that person breaking the law?
I don't know. Yeah.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Because when he gets taken to court, the defense is going to say, "Hey, look, this law was unconstitutional." Just because a judge signs an order doesn't make it constitutional.
Right. So, James, what you just described there at the very end, there, the judge being taken to court and everyone having a defense about if it was unconstitutional, that's the part we're missing right now. That's what you're describing.
Because when they take the Trump administration to court...
James, what you're describing right now is this judicial process that people normally accept, and you're not getting to the second layer where, like, they are trying, you say, when they take the Trump administration to court. These judges have been saying, and people have been suing over and over and over again, it doesn't matter. The Trump administration is just ignoring them. Right?
But when the Supreme Court makes a ruling, does he follow it?
No. So that's my question: is what if the Supreme Court ruled tomorrow? And I know that Donald Trump needed to listen to a federal judge about the federal funding freeze that he's not listening to. Donald Trump is just going to ignore it. Just ignore it. What's stopping him?
Is that not a hypothetical?
Let me ask you this:
and you told me no hypothetical.
Let me ask you this: what's stopping him from ignoring it?
Being held accountable by Congress, being kicked out of office.
That's it.
Being impeached.
Right.
Now, okay, wait, but
holy fucking shit, Chad.
But if we're not there yet, if they haven't tried to impeach him, if there's no impeachable laws he's done, why are we sitting here arguing about?
There's literally
one or two laws?
Easily 20 plus impeachable offenses that Donald Trump has.
So okay, in. Do you think he could have been impeached on his first term?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
so why wasn't he?
He was twice.
Right? No. Confirmed impeachment.
Yeah, so
he was brought to impeachment charges into an impeachment trial.
It's not a charge. Yeah, he was impeached. You're saying removed from office? Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, removed from office. Yeah, why was he not removed from office?
Because I think that the Republican Party is controlled by one man. People know they risk their.
Wait. Congress voted on it.
James.
So you're telling me people were controlled by that one person?
Yes. I think the Republican Party is full of people who know that, for example, even right now, this is all...
So who controls the Democratic Party?
Can I speak? Yeah, so I think that for Republicans, for example, in Congress, they know that if they don't get down and bow to Trump as much as possible all the time, that they will lose. They will lose their support in Congress, but they could lose their job. They'll lose donations. They'll lose money. All these things, and so they're unwilling to do it. Right?
So, okay, my question to you is, they're driven by fear. That's not that no one's holding a gun to their head.
Yeah.
They can still make a conscious choice of removing someone from office. And so you can't sit here and say he controls it by holding a gun to their head and saying, if you do this, like Vladimir or Putin does in Russia.
Maybe we never had a chance, dude. Oh, dude. Maybe we never had a chance. Maybe that's just the answer.